Nu ska vi gå över till Crestron. Och Crestron är ju då den ledande tillverkaren i världen. Helt global ledare inom AV-teknik, största utvecklingsavdelningen, största personalstyrkan och det på det som vi kallar för professionell AV-teknik. Det innebär också att man har väldigt bra insikt i vad som händer hos de stora företagen runt om i världen. Och man har samarbete med de stora giganterna som Microsoft och så vidare. Det vi ser inom AV-tekniken, det är att det går mer och mer hos kunderna mot helhetssyn på anläggningarna. Det går mer och mer mot licensbaserad teknik. Och det går mer och mer mot IT-centrering inom vår bransch. Och det här måste vi förhålla oss till. Så alla som jobbar med den här tekniken måste vara med på vad som händer. Jag tror att det är ganska farligt att bli så att säga kvarlämnad ibland det gamla burksamhället egentligen. Så egentligen från burk till moln, det är det vi ser att det går just nu. Så Stijn Ooms som ska prata nu, han har varit ungefär 20 år på Crestron. Han var nummer 8 på Crestron i Belgien, alltså Crestron EMEA som fick jobb där, som har varit med jättelänge. Och idag så funkar han som Technical Director på Crestron EMEA. Så han har alltså direkt insyn i utvecklingen, R&D borta i New Jersey där huvudkontoret är. So I will leave it over to you, Stijn. I think you understand everything I said, so otherwise I don't care so much. So
Wow. Oops. That's a bold statement. Or scary statement, isn't it? Well, if you don't think it's scary enough, I'll make it a little bit more scary. So yeah, my name is Stijn Ooms. I'm a technology director for Crestron. This August, I celebrated my 20th anniversary at Crestron. And the next 45 minutes to an hour, I'm gonna try to explain this bold statement. What do I mean by this? What is going to happen? Well, today, virtually all AV responsibility in an enterprise or in higher education is shifted to the IT department. And if there are still AV people left in an enterprise or in a university, they report up to the IT director. And honestly, IT folks don't like AV. They don't like AV. It's outside their comfort zone. And let's face it, the AV industry, we created this. Because every chance we get, we try to reinvent the wheel. And let me explain this, reinvent the wheel, by using an analogy. This is a typical AV manufacturer, like Crestron. We sell parts to build a car. But what is happening? These are the cars we supply to an enterprise. Yeah, you might laugh about it, but it's true. And the most ridiculous part of it, we supply all those 4 cars to the same enterprise. So all the users in an enterprise have to drive these cars. And if I would invite all employees of, for example, IKEA, I put these 4 cars on their parking lot. And I invite all the employees of IKEA and then say, go and drive the cars. Well, almost 80% will have difficulties opening the door of the first car. They will all start pulling instead of lifting it up because they're not used to it. And then they go to the next car and then the next car and then this last car tried to operate the shovel. Without serious training, you're not able to do this. But this is what end users experience every day when they walk from one meeting room to another meeting room. So if I go back to the IT guy, when they open the credenza in a meeting room, that's what they see. What do they see? A variety of different boxes from different manufacturers. They feel very uncomfortable with it. They don't know what all these boxes do. And on top of it, it's all different brands. So you have to go for spec sheets, manuals, firmware updates, everything. You have to go to separate manufacturers. For service support, you have to go to separate manufacturers. That's a nightmare. And guess what? We in the AV industry recreated this. And many of you might say, well, yeah, but what's our value in the AV industry? Yeah, with my experience, I know what to design and I know what to give to the end user. But honestly, this is what IT folks hate. Why? Have you ever opened an IT rack? You see one manufacturer, maybe two. Yeah? They don't mix and match. IT folks standardize on the network infrastructure. They use Cisco, they use HP, they use Extreme, but they don't mix because it's unserviceable. Yeah, it's not doable, and this might put you in fear and say, well, yeah, but if I only pick as an AV guy, if I only pick one brand, what's my value? Of course, everybody can take design a Cisco network out of the Cisco catalog with 4,000 products. Everybody can do it, right? No, it's not for nothing that Cisco provides these hundreds of different trainings to people in the industry to build decent network infrastructure based on Cisco products. So if I go back to this car analogy, this is what we in the AV industry supply. This is what we make, but this is not what IT wants. IT wants this. IT wants a complete platform, which is user-friendly, which is serviceable, and of all scalable. Like this car industry, it's one brand, but you have different options depending on what you want as a car. And still you can customize things, you can tailor things to the needs of a specific end user. That's what in the car world called options on a car. I can tailor my car to the person who loves it, who loves special features. And the same holds true for AV. We have to change our mentality in the AV world. And we have to stop thinking about being an AV artist, but start thinking about an AV architect. We need to architect solutions. We have skills that IT needs, and it's our job to meet them halfway. IT use words like provision, scalable, management, and all these words mean that if you use them all three at the same time, that systems can be deployed quickly, installed quickly. You don't need the highest paid engineer to start up a room one by the other. And on top, you can manage your system for the entire life cycle. If I give you an analogy of an IP phone, let's imagine we are working in an organization with 1,000 employees. And tomorrow, I'm going to change all your phones to IP phones from brand B, whatever. So all those 1,000 phones appear at my doorstep, and I take the first box and I walk to the first office, open the box, put the IP phone in the socket, wait until it boots up, then go in the settings of the phone, put in the IP address of my SIP server, put in the credentials, putting in the language of the user interface of the phone, putting in the URL for the address book, store, save, reboot, done. Go for the next box, go to the next room. If I would do this, I would be busy for almost a year deploying 1,000 phones. This is not how IT does it. What they do is, before even those 1,000 boxes arrive on my doorstep, I already configured my server and gave him all the MAC addresses and serial numbers of the phones that will arrive, and will appoint them to the different people. And then I can send a clerk or a person, just go to the 1,000 boxes, take the phone, add a serial number, that's this person, go to this desk, open the box, put the phone, plug it in. The phone reaches out to the server, pulls down its configuration, like SIP address, like language settings, like everything what you need to set on a phone. It pulls it down, green light, next room. This is a IT deployable model. And this is where we, as AV, needs to go in. And if we do not, we are in big problem. And now you might say, yeah, Stan, you say this, you're wrong. You say this just because you're Crestron, and Crestron has all these solutions because you want to sell more Crestron, everybody needs Crestron. But I'm not saying it for that reason. I'm seriously saying that the AV industry is in jeopardy of extinction, like the dinosaurs. And I've been, over the past year, I've met dozens of end users who hate AV. They're sick of the same old model. And now it's time for us to change it. It's time for us as the AV industry to move on and take these things, what the IT has developed over the past 20, 30 years, those methodologies, those architectures that made IT where it stands today, and take this into AV. And don't forget, IT need our skills. It's not that we're extended. Yeah? If we continue the way we do, we might be, but we need to change. But let me explain this by an example of our Crestron IT department. One day in the life of Crestron's IT director. We buy more than 1 billion components a year. And we run it through an SAP system. And our phone system, our IP phone system we use at Crestron is Mytel. Our database structure, which we use for TrueBlue online support and so on, is based on Oracle. Our email system is Exchange or Office 365 now, moved to the cloud. And our network infrastructure is based on Juniper. Now think, if we're gonna have to make some changes on our SAP system, do you really think that our IT guy does it? No. He calls in an SAP integrator and he will make the changes. The same for Mytel. If we need to do some change on our phone system, the guy doesn't do it, our IT guy doesn't do it, he calls in experts. He calls in Mytel to come in and help expand our system. The same for Oracle, the same for Exchange, the same for our networks. And it's not different for AV. We are a specialty service within IT, or became a specialty service within IT. We have deep knowledge of audio, video, and user experience in the commercial, in the meeting spaces. Yeah? We are experts. We know how those systems work on the network. We know how those systems needs to be handled. On top, we need to embrace those fundamental expectations of IT, which is provision, scale, and manage. And if we do, we will be successful. And we will be a value to the IT department. And the IT department will call on you to help them out. Now, why did AV move under IT? Because the enterprise changed. The way how an enterprise works, how people work, is changed. I'll take you back 20 years ago, 1997. This is how an average desk, how your desk might look like in 1997. You had a fax machine, you had some basic tools on your laptop, you had a phone book, you had some encyclopedias, you had your calendar, you had a dog. 10 years later, all these things changed, most of the things already changed and became virtualized. Became an app, and indeed, the dog died, unfortunately. If I bring you back to today, this is how your desk looks like today. Well, in fact, it's no longer your desk. It's a flex desk. You share it with people. Every analog application has moved into the digital world. This is IT-centric, and it's not different for AV. Another challenge an enterprise has is, or trying to do, is the world becomes smaller. With the digitalization, the world is smaller. People are working more and more in teams. You have a lot of remote workers, people in Asia, people in the US. You form a team and work on a project. So it's a challenge. It requires a lot of technology. Another challenge is that more and more people are working from home. Provide a better balance between your work life and your family life. Organizations needs to tailor to this. Right? I hate it too. If I need to do some banking or I need to go to a shop, buy new clothes for my kids, whatever, I have to take a holiday. This is not normal. This is not what we expect. And don't forget, the new work people, the new employees of today are the millennials. Guys who have been, ladies, who have been born around the year 2000, they're born with an iPad on their lap. If I give my 3-year-old, I don't have a 3-year-old anymore, but if I gave my 3-year-old an iPad, 5 minutes later he did things that I wasn't doing before. They're used to this technology. They want to use these technologies they have at home, they're used to. They want to use it in their work environment. If not, they're not interested in the job. 82% of the millennials don't want to go work in an organization who is old-fashioned. I don't know if you've ever seen pictures of Google and Dyson If you look at their offices, it's like a playground. Huh? But this is what the new employees expect. Data also gets more and more crucial for an organization. Think of IoT. There's so many devices connected on the network. They're all spitting data. Well, what are people doing with this data? Huh? So this becomes more and more key for an enterprise as well, to collect this data. We call it data is king. For 4 main reasons. Inventory management, knowing where your products are, where your assets are, where your features are, at any moment in time. Being able to monitor this from anywhere in the world. Doing predictive maintenance, solve a problem before it actually is a problem. And last but not least, create personalized profiles. Being able, if I walk in a meeting room, it's my features I have. It's my features I need to do my job. And what I'm preaching you, or what I'm telling you now, is not something we Crestron invent. It's something that is actually going on. I want to show you a short movie of this thing what I just explained, and it's called activity-based working. So,
do you remember when we were all expected to work in one place? In huge offices, which took long and frustrating commutes to reach? Sitting down all day, emailing colleagues on the other side of the world? Or a few desks away? Under the watchful eye of your manager? Actually, many organizations still work like that, even though the world has changed. Globalization and digitization mean that for many of us it's irrelevant where or even when we work, which has enabled millions to create a better, healthier work-life balance. That's a fundamental change. Ever since the Industrial Revolution, we've grown used to the idea that work and private life are two completely different worlds, that work meant a factory or office away from home. The Information Revolution, in a way, is reversing that. It's also having a massive impact on the nature of our work. As software takes over more and more routine jobs, it's our ideas and creativity that are becoming more and more important. In response to these changes, organizations are becoming more flexible and less hierarchical. But most offices still look as if success depends on the number of staff and their physical presence, rather than on their quality, creativity, and commitment. What's needed is a workplace tailored to the actual needs of people and the organization they work for. Activity-based working. To understand this concept, let's first agree on what it isn't. For example, it's not the same as trendy new office space. It's not the same as getting as many people as possible to work from home. Activity-based working is about you and your colleagues. It's about organizing your work in a more productive and enjoyable way. Creating the best circumstances for each activity, whether it's developing ideas, delivering content, or sharing knowledge. And yes, of course, that has implications for our physical workplace. It means that you need a range of dedicated facilities for specific activities. You also need an effective virtual working environment, instant access to all the information you need, wherever you are, tools to collaborate with colleagues, wherever they are. But perhaps most crucially, you need an organizational culture built on trust, empowerment, a shared sense of responsibility. And everybody, including managers, needs to be fully committed to this new way of working. It sounds challenging, and it is. But the benefits are substantial. A healthier and more sustainable workplace. More effective, engaged and motivated people. Better collaboration, which means better ideas and more efficient decision making, which in turn will lead to faster problem solving and more satisfied customers. And yes, let's not forget, activity-based working can boost productivity and save costs. But only when it's approached in the right way. After all, there's no universal blueprint for activity-based working. It all starts with an organization's vision, values, and strategy. And finding the best mix of physical settings, digital tools, and attitudes to support it. So tell me, how are you going to make this work for you?
So, like I said, this is not a trend. This is something that is actively happening today. It's already started a few years ago. These big consultant organizations, global consultant organizations, and architectural firms are using this activity-based working concept in every new design they're taking into the market. Although, in order to make this successful, one of the key things is technology. You're going to need a lot more technology, and organizations are going to need a lot more technology. But technology comes with a few challenges. And one of the challenges is, I wouldn't say specifically stability, but it's also user experience. Do you know that more than 20% of the meetings overrun in time because of technical issues? Huh? And there is a big hidden cost there. Let us calculate that cost. Averagely, in a meeting, how many people do you think there are? Averagely. Think all meetings in the world that happen. So you have meetings with 50 people, you also have meetings with 2 people. Averagely, how many people are sitting in a meeting room? 6. Indeed, 6. Averagely, it's around about 6. Microsoft did a huge study a few years ago with when they launched their Skype room systems. It was 6. How many hours a day is a meeting room being used? 2, 4, but more. It's 6. 6 hours. Huh? How much time do we averagely lose at the startup of a meeting because of technical issues? 6 minutes? It's a nice guess, but it's a little bit more. Sorry? 15, exactly. Well, Microsoft determined in their study between 10 and 15 minutes. Yeah? So let's take 10. And because that's nice in the calculation, it's a sixth of an hour. That's 10 minutes. And then we are very conservative. What's the average cost of an employee for an organization? I'm not talking salary, I'm talking cost for an organization, which is around about 100 euro an hour, or Swedish krona, around about 1,000 Swedish krona. How many days are there, work days are there in a year? Again, conservative, 200 days a year. So if we calculate the cost of a 10-minute delay of every meeting due to technology for one room, ladies and gentlemen, it's a hidden cost of more than 1.2 million Swedish krona per room. Afterwards, we became involved in a massive project for the largest container shipping company in the world, Scandinavian. Yeah. And they have in their headquarters in Copenhagen 80 meeting rooms, 80. They hired one person, I'm not joking, they hired a person specifically to walk in the morning at 7 a.m. or 6:30 to go to all these 80 meeting rooms and turn the display on. Seriously, I'm not joking. And you know why? Because people, we are technologists. We know how to turn a display on. We understand what HDMI is, how to get a laptop. But most people don't know this. Think of your wives. So this company, they hired a guy specifically in the morning to turn on these 80 displays, and in the evening to turn them off. It saved them on electricity cost 20,000 euros per year, but of course the salary of the guy is more. We quickly solved it by a very cheap control system of Crestron, where we turned all the displays on in the morning and all in the evening. But these are things we have to think about. Another challenge with technology is that it changes so fast. Think of unified communication. These are Gentner charts. These give you an impression of how the market is evolving. These were all the players in 2013 in the Gentner chart. 4 years later, this entire landscape changed very fast. Here you had, on the third place, you had Avaya and Siemens, third and fourth. They disappeared here. Suddenly Adobe comes in place with their new Adobe Connect software. And so technology is changing a lot, and organizations are very often making investments based on a specific platform they use. And then after a few years, they want to shift. Today they use Skype for Business, and 4 years later they use Zoom. Do you know Zoom here in Sweden? Zoom conferencing? So an organization invested in hardware for Skype for Business, and suddenly 4 years later, because HR or the CTO decided to change it into whatever, Cisco. So if you have technology, make sure it's flexible. But this technology, many people still think it's very expensive. I'm going to prove you it's not expensive. What's the price of a cup of coffee? Not in a bar, for an enterprise, for an organization. In a bar, it's probably 30 Swedish krona. For an organization, a cup of coffee is around about 30 cents, euros, or 3 Swedish krona. If 6 people are in a meeting, averagely, the cost of coffee in our meeting is 1.8 euro per meeting. Sounds reasonable, isn't it? Well, let's park that for a second. There are 200 days a year. 6 hours, averagely, there is a meeting with 6 people. If we look at over a time span of 3 years, there are around about 3,600 hours of meetings with 6 people. Park that. As Crestron, we have a product called Mercury. I don't know, who knows Mercury? Half. Mercury is a box that is a control system, kind of. It controls your display. You can do room booking. It gives you the calendar of the room. You'll be able to book the rooms. There is a microphone speaker, so unified communication can be done through it. It talks to SIP systems. There's Bluetooth connectivity. Anyway, it's one box that solves your entire issue in a meeting room. It's 3,360 euro. So, if I look at the cost of Mercury per hour meeting, it's half. So technology, Mercury in this case, is half the price of the coffee you serve. And this might look a little bit ridiculous, but we all take this for granted. We even waste it. And then we start complaining that technology is expensive to solve. Yes, think of that example for that container shipping company. So technology isn't that expensive. Anyone has an idea what this number means? And no, it's not money on my bank account. I wish it was. This is according to Cisco, the global internet traffic in 2016. It's 1 with 21 zeros. We call it a zettabyte, of which 70% is video content. Cisco predicts that by 2021, this will be times 3 zettabytes, of which 82% is video, and of that 82%, 30% is live video. Think about Facebook live streaming and things like this, or FaceTime, and etc. This is massive. By 2021, all the content, or 30% of the content you see, video content, will be in 4K. Also, by 2021, the amount of devices connected onto the network is more than 3 times the global population by 2021. That's mainly thanks to these IoT devices. And by 2021, the fastest growing technology, or I should say, the fastest growing technology that will need bandwidth, high bandwidth, is virtual reality and augmented reality. Not so much 8K. Well, if I talk about 8K, think about the bandwidth of 8K is 48 gigabits per second. It's massive bandwidth. How the hell, I'm sorry for the wording, but again, you get 48 gigabits per second over a wire, knowing that a Cat7, the highest grade category cable, is only rated up to 10 gigabits per second. It's 5 times smaller. Should we look for better cables? I don't think so. we should become more bandwidth efficient. And it's not for nothing that companies like Cisco, HP, and Extreme are not investing more in 20 gigabyte switches or 50 gigabyte switches. No, in contrary, their future roadmap is all about 2.5 and 5 gigabits per second network switchings to bring those bandwidths down, because we need to be more cost effective. Now, of course, in the AV industry, we talk about video resolutions and we need massive bandwidths, but there is compression. You have lightweight compression, 2:1, or you have higher rate compression, 20:1. Even more higher compressions. Don't be scared about compressing. We in the AV are always scared about compressing, but don't have to be scared. Look, if I take a Blu-ray disc, the storage I can load on a Blu-ray disc is 100 gigabytes. So that equals to 800 gigabits. I talk about the 4K dual layer Blu-ray disc. 100 gigabytes, which is 800 gigabits that I can store on this Blu-ray disc. A movie in 4K 60 at 10-bit HDR is around about 22.28 gigabits per second. So if I'm not going to go compression, because we hate compression in the AV industry, if I'm not compressing, I get exactly 35.9 seconds of film. But we laugh now, but we are all guilty in the fact that we don't want to compress because we think it causes bad image. But that's not anymore. Yeah, it was 20 years ago. But today these codecs became so powerful, if you run it on the right hardware, that compression is good. You see this AV over IP boxes coming up. Every manufacturer is now starting to announce AV over IP boxes. And why is it coming up so fast? For a few reasons. The network is flexible. Yeah, right? With a matrix switcher, a 16 by 16, I'm limited. I cannot do anything. Ports aren't fixed. In a 16 by 16 matrix, I have 16 inputs and 16 outputs. While on a network, I have 32 network ports, which can become an input or an output, depending on what box I connect to it. That's not the case with matrix switches. Few to many scenarios is cost effective. A one source to 50 displays in the matrix environment, you have to buy a 64 by 64 matrix, only one input, and you use 50 outputs. It's a very expensive solution. In AV over IP, I only use 51 boxes, one transmitter and 50 receivers. It's scalable to thousands of endpoints. We're doing projects with Crestron with our NVX AV over IP solution of more than 2,000 endpoints in one project. This is unthinkable in a matrix environment. Yeah? They can be added and moved very easily, indeed. And last but not least, a network switch with 72 ports, a gigabit network switch, is one rack you can find. So that takes the amount of space in your 19-inch rack it takes. Instead of a 128 by 128 matrix is this size. Huh? These are the main driving things why video over IP is becoming popular. And guess what? The need for higher bandwidth isn't one of them. Huh? And the reason why I state this is because there are still many AV over IP solutions that are coming out over 10 gig. They need 10 gig infrastructure. Why? Because that's what we in the AV industry thinks that's crucial. Yeah? But if you look at 4K, full 4K, full for 4K 60, full 4 with HDR has a bandwidth of 18 gigabits per second. So even your 10 gig solution need to compress. Huh? Anyway, if I can just briefly talk about Crestron and our platform, we have a lot of answers to all the challenges I spoke over the past half hour. All the challenges I highlighted at Crestron, we have the solutions now. We are ready to this new IT revolution, or AV IT revolution. We have technologies that deploy like IT. We have cloud deployment. Like I said with the IP phone, we can do that with Crestron products as well. When you buy 50 Mercury devices, we give you 50 serial numbers and MAC addresses. You go into your cloud, you configure them saying, well, those 25 go to Sweden, the other, so the language on my user interface of the Mercury need to be Swedish, and we talk in Sweden to our Cisco Cisco call manager SIP system. And the other 25, they go to Germany, to our satellite office in Germany, where of course I want the touch panel layout in German, and they don't use the Cisco Call Manager, but they use an Avaya SIP phone system. So I put it all in my cloud, and I select those 25. I say, you all 25 in Swedish, and this is your Cisco Call Manager IP address. You 25 German, and this is your Avaya things. Store. Then your 50 boxes arrive, 25 in Sweden, 25 in Germany. You connect your Mercury onto the network. Mercury will reach out to our cloud. It says, I'm this serial number and this MAC address. Then you're supposed to be in Sweden, so Swedish and Cisco Call Manager. So we deploy technologies like IT wants it to. And we have a lot of technologies, from video distribution, wireless, unified communications, audio DSPs. We are flexible. We have a lot of partners. If today your organization is working on Skype for Business and tomorrow you want changing to Zoom, you do not need to swap our hardware. Our hardware stays the same. It's just going into your cloud and say, well, those 25 systems in Sweden are now going on Cisco. Boom, one Vink, that's it. That is how IT does it today. And on top, our technology is scalable. From a very simple open office to the most complex conference room, we have those scalable solutions, maintaining the same user interface, maintaining the same user experience. So if I walk in tomorrow in my morning meeting in a small huddle room, and then I go to a training room, and then I'll go to our auditorium, I'm not confused. The layout, how I have to start my meeting, is exactly the same. Yeah? And I would like to end with a small clip of a futurist, a guy called Leonard. He's a very intelligent futurist predicting the future. He made a lovely movie, and I would like to end with that.
Once upon a time, business as usual was often good enough. No more. Where we are going, good enough is dead. In a world where everything is connected, where everything is equally excellent, where performance is reaching perfection, there's only one space left to innovate in: you. Right now, you are a central point in the raging tornado of change fueled by digitization, mobilization, augmentation, disintermediation, automation. Well, the list goes on. Science fiction is becoming science fact. Think about self-driving cars or computers that can learn and think. The way we work will never be the same. The skills we need will be dramatically different. Winning or losing are now happening faster than ever before. So what's your response? How will you discover new opportunities in one of the most transformational times in human history? Are you driving change, or are you being driven by it?
So please, join Special-Elektronik and Crestron to drive this change and not being driven by it. Thank you.